Hi, Jumbo, Bonjour, Bula Bula, Ni Hao, Guten Tag, Aloha, Assalamu Alaikum, Anyo, Namaste, Yasas, Wanji, Hola. I'm Keith Lawrence. I'm an American citizen of the world. After traveling the world for many decades, I say I'm a U.S. citizen of the world. I'm here tonight to tell you about my newly published book. Memoirs of an African-American Navigator. Why am I here to promote a book? Because I have to go where the people are. I don't have a giant publishing house to promote my book, so I come to YouTube. The book is about my travels around the world as a U.S. merchant marine officer, and the lessons I got during those travels about my contact with the local populations in many countries. I also wanted to give my account of being the first African-American graduate of the California Maritime Academy in the deck department. The social commentary I provide throughout the book could prove invaluable to anyone trying to overcome great obstacles in their life. Also, to anyone seeking a career in the U.S. Merchant Marine, the book could also prove invaluable. Here are two accounts in the book. Reading glasses. On page 54, I will read a little account. I'm talking about my English instructor in college, California Maritime Academy, where I was the only black in the class. He also talked about some of the great white poets of the 19th and 20th centuries, men like Robert Frost and the abolitionist Ralph Waldo Emerson. I thought he kind of put down the writings by black poets of the past 4 decades as being rather crude as compared to, say, Walt Whitman's poems in the Leaves of Grass series. Mr. Willer lectured his class about poetry one day and cited examples of high quality versus average poetry. He did make a realistic statement when he said the poetry of Africans and African Americans reflected their conditions in life. African American poetry in the 60s and early 70s did address the spirit of revolution, of changing values in the United States. The poetry was called angry poetry. An example is Die Nigger Die by the former Darnell Lee, Haki El Mabuti. The poem called for the handkerchief-headed, bowing and scraping head-scratching Negroes of the past to die and to let black folks take over. I'd say the sentiment was shared by a large segment of the black population in the United States. Yes, much of the poetry, including my own, reflected the conditions blacks were suffering, such as racism and discrimination in housing and services. Racial profiling, the term was popularized by the great attorney Johnny Cochran, was rampant in the United States. Why do I say it was? Still's happening, huh? The poetry of the so-called black arts movement was no less artistic, utilitarian, or valuable than Poe's poetry. Maybe the instructor would have served the class's education better had he cited Wole Soyinka's poems, and Langston Hughes's I've Known Rivers, or Maya Angelou's poem I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. All would have been great examples of fine work. The words and meter, that's the rhythmic arrangement of words, of I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings are as enrapturing to me as The Raven by Poe. The range of African and African American poetry was staggering in its scope, but the class wasn't exposed to it. I stayed silent with my understanding, but the English class was valuable to me in that it exposed me to how blind many white people are to the fine novels and poems of African and African American writers. Case in point, the upcoming Academy Awards, where no blacks are represented. Well, I didn't feel it was my place to educate the class, but to conserve my energy for passing the courses and graduating as the first black man in the deck department. I have another account. This is on page 173 or 4. Let's see. It's on 173. I was aware of my status of being a black mate once again when I attempted to board a ship on the 22nd. The ship was docked at the Army terminal off Maritime Street in Oakland. The white guards at the gate decided my seaman's card wasn't enough to gain me entrance that night. I had got a second mate job, a navigator on the ship, but they didn't seem to want to let me in the gate. I waited for over 20 minutes in the cold at the gate while they decided what to do about letting me in. I told them I was the new navigator, but they acted like it could not possibly be. I got in my car to drive away when a black Army security guard drove up behind me and told me to follow him back to the gate. He told me that a lot of white guys were let in that day with only a driver's license. Thankfully, he got me in. I boarded the Comet and walked up 3 or 4 flights of stairs to find my room when 2 guys rushed up to me and asked in an aggressive manner for me to produce my ID. They didn't seem to believe that a black mate could possibly be on board. Well, I survived the experience and many other experiences of prejudice in the United States Merchant Marine. It's my sincere hope that someone will be inspired to persevere after reading this book, Memoirs of an African American Navigator. Matter of fact, that's why I wrote the book, to show how I overcame huge obstacles and how you can also overcome your obstacles. Just never give up. I wanted to show how I wanted to do my part to change society in some small way by becoming the first black man to enter the deck department of the California Maritime Academy and graduate. I survived many years on the ocean and lasted 20 years in the Masters Mates and Pilots Union and finally retired in 2011. I decided to write my account because I thought it could somehow help society and people undergoing huge obstacles in their life. I think it's an invaluable look into my life and how I can transform your life by reading it. It's on Amazon and Kindle. Check it out. I think you'll like it. Bye.